Joined now by the president of baseball operations for the Orioles, Andy MacPhail. Andy, the deal that you made for Will Oman, and at least some of the reports that have come out recently say that it almost did not happen. Explain what was going on there at the last minute.
Well, it was pretty close. It really got down the last 3 or 4 minutes. Vanden Hurk was a pitcher we had asked for earlier in the day and was told was unavailable. So we eventually just decided that we were going to pass, and we were actually on the phone working something else at the 11th hour when 4 or 5 minutes prior to the deadline we'd gotten a note passed to us that they would do Vanden Hurk at this point, so we determined that we would go ahead and go forward.
Andy, some of the names that will really be thrown around quite a bit, Ty Wigginton, Luke Scott, there's got to be a lot of interest in those kind of guys. Are you fielding a lot of phone calls about them in particular?
You know, we certainly had some action on Scott today, and we really had a higher volume of calls than I expected, going back and forth, and we had really a much wider variety of subjects that we discussed than I might have expected when I went into work this morning. I think some of those things are things that can be carried on. Those discussions can carry on into the off season, which is probably you know, at a more appropriate time to vet some of the things. But there were really some interesting ideas back and forth on a wide variety of subjects. Certainly, Luke Scott is somebody that garnered some attention on this particular day, though.
And there's some speculation that Troy Patton may be recalled to take Will Oman's place in the bullpen. You might juggle the left-handers around a little bit for their roles. Is that true?
Yeah, Tom, I think the reason for that, and you know, that might be a first step, and we'll see how long it lasts. But having, you know, 2 left-handed short guys in our bullpen was getting to be a luxury that we really couldn't afford based on how our starting pitching was not carrying us, with the exception of Guthrie, really carrying us nearly as far along in the games, and it's really been taxing the rest of the bullpen. So while Will did a good job for us, and the Marlins don't have a lefty in their pen, and they still want to make a run at this thing for this year, so Will makes a lot of sense for them. For us, it was getting to the point where, you know, if we need to find somebody in there that can go long for us, because we've had too many back-to-back starts where our starters aren't carrying us into the 5th or 6th.
Andy, you know, you've already made a deal for Tejada in the past that brought us quite a few good players. And again, we end up dealing Tejada for a young pitcher named Win Pelzer. Was he a guy who was on the radar screen already? Do you know a lot about him?
Yeah, you know, last year you probably couldn't have made this deal, Rick, because he was a very high ranked guy in the Padres system. I think Baseball America, for what it's worth, had him ranked 7th in their system. And the Padres had him as having their best fastball and slider in the system. He is a probably potential reliever who they had in the rotation so he could, you know, log more innings, get more experience. He stepped back a little bit this year. His velocity was from 93 to 96 last year. It's around 92, 94 this year. I think part of that is an effort to try to gain a little greater command than he had. Interestingly enough, he pitched yesterday in Bowie, 2 innings out of the pen, struck out the side in the 1st inning. But he is somebody of interest that we've had. Probably if he continued along the rapid pace that he was a year ago, probably would not have been available in this kind of deal. Pelzer is also identified as sort of a Kevin Tower special in terms of one of those guys Kevin finds with that plus slider that he thinks are going to be very effective in the bullpen in short looks at the major league level.
Tell us a little bit about this Rick Vanden Hurk. It was acquired, you know, from the deal for Will Oman. We don't really know that much about him, to be very honest with you. Well,
you know what? He's been an up-and-down guy. 3 times over the last 3 years, he's logged some innings in Florida between their AAA and Major League. And like so many pitchers that we've seen, it's really a function of command for him as to whether he's ever going to stick. This was his last year of optional service, so it was pretty clear in our view that he wasn't going to be able to crack that rotation in all likelihood next year of the Marlins, so it'd be somebody that might be expendable 90 to 95, but more comfortably 92, 93. And again, it's just a function, like so many pitchers, of where he can throw the ball where he wants to.
Well, Andy, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us. The president of baseball operations, Andy MacPhail. We thank you very much.